you're tapping. There. 5'2", eyes of blue. There she goes. There she goes.
There we go. My part.
See my gal.
Dapper.
Do 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 do.
Dapper. My gal.
One more time. One more time. Let's see.
Oh, let's see. I forgot my D D D. Eyes of blue. Do 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 do. Can anybody see my gal? You know,
There.
you've seen the little girl.
There's the little
pouring
girl on
salt.
on the salt box.
And Mother had a little daycare place next door, so Nancy Morton came to for the day or whatever, and she and Nancy became good friends. And then one night, Mr. Morton and Dad were trying to figure out a good idea for a slogan for salt. And they were bantering it around, and Dad came out with, "When it rains, it pours." And so they had another bourbon, I'm sure, and said, "We got it, Jim."
And then you are. There's.
And then they went on to
at
do
the-
another one, but Ford, there was a slogan then, "Watch the Fords go by," and they thought up, "Watch the people go by Chevrolets." But they didn't like that well enough. They just twisted it and said, "Watch the people go by Chevrolet." But the Ford used "Watch the Fords go by." Who's this? There's Edith, but who's that?
That's the one next to Edith. Maybe a nurse or something.
Edith, that's not Edith. Let me get a better lighter.
Light isn't good enough.
I sure couldn't swear whether that was
Gotta get Cully and all those guys.
JLB though. But that's certainly Edith. Cully Larry.
Hanging out the window.
This was never mentioned to us much about the ousted. How did it all end up? Do you have more on it? Was he ousted?
I don't know. That's another question that Great Aunt Frances could have answered all of the
But
all the details.
she told Carolyn a lot. That's why I'm hoping Carolyn will recall a lot of this.
But that's secondhand.
They were pretty
information.
good friends.
Well,
Okay, so we go through.
No, he's biting my lap. No,
Hey.
No,
Hey.
I don't want to kick him though. Here we are. This shows the relationship to Morse, doesn't it? Yeah. When I did my
It's okay,
paper on
buddy.
Morse, I had this
everybody.
available to show what relation he was right on down to us, see?
Uh-huh.
Now Jim claims, you ought to get it verified by Jim, because he claims that somewhere along the line it was another offshoot.
It's okay, buddy.
There's a judge, Lawrence Breeze, in the Watercolor Society, and he thinks that branch were farmers in New Jersey. His family came from that.
Right.
So possibly that's true. But according to this, we're directly come out of
The Judge Breeze.
the Judge Breeze. Here, you might call him. He's in the book.
I judged his work. I didn't let him. I didn't let him in the plein air painting show. He was in. I didn't give him an
That was
award.
the young one. That's his son. Because he was sort of cool to me. I saw him at a meeting. I said, "Oh, we're related." And he said, "Yeah, here we are." But his father must have told him. You see, the father and the son are both painters.
I would like to find
Was
out
this a
where
young
that.
guy?
There's a whole giant Breeze, Midwest Breeze.
Yeah, and I think
Group.
this was...
Whole giant Midwest group.
Well,
that
remember, the portrait is the congressman
right.
in
No,
Illinois.
and he's a Breeze from off of the David Lawrence Breeze
I don't
branch.
know. But he was a congressman and
Do
Morse
you know
painted him.
where
I
in
know
Morse
a lot.
paint? Do you know where that would have lit off?
Well, he was painting those people in the late early 19th century. Isn't that when Morse was painting?
Uh-huh. It would be a break off of Morris, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere
Good
in
puppy.
here.
You're a good puppy. You're a good puppy. Yeah. I'll play with you later. He's got something he wants me to
Yeah.
come and get and throw, I think. Yeah, we had a game
The
going. but
closest people would be now that would know would be
Well, we have the whole.
Francis's kids. And they're gone, so you have to go to the wives and just hope that the wives of Francis's children can give you that connection.
They know something, but it's nothing. The kids are the important ones. They remember things back to the age of 2.
I wonder if I was named after this Anne Breeze that married Lord Alistair Robert Insker. I wonder where this came from. They just you could just buy them in New York, I guess, huh? They do the social thing of whether you married into an
Well,
English.
it's taped into his books, the early books that he had in Southampton.
This same one?
Out of his own collection.
See, it ends at
Yeah, I thought we were still in.
Families used to keep track of that.
James L. Bruce, that they're.
But I carried it
No,
on my paper and showed where it came right down to our family. I carried it on.
You have that in there?
I'll see if I can find that paper.
Yeah, you had quite a lot of information then. Somewhere.
Amanda took this
Oh,
one
that's
just
the nasty-
last summer.
Now it's
And here's this one.
Whitefield Estates.
And that's sort of nice of her to send me. That's the side view.
Did you spend any time at the?
No,
Did
they
you?
didn't go in. They
Did
couldn't.
you ever know when you were there?
No,
you know
I never
the
remember going in.
the
Oh,
the,
once maybe.
the famous
Maybe
poet
once.
that is there.
They showed me around once when it was a sort of a think tank or something they were using. No,
Hey,
no.
hey.
I don't want to put in stuff.
Of course not. Well, let's start out your first remembrances when you were born in.
In Lake Forest, Illinois. And I remember only one thing of going out in the garden and being stung by a bee when I was about 4 years old. And I also remember my dad saying that someday we'll all be able to look at a screen like going to the movies, but we'll see a movie on it, and that when I was growing up, they would have them available. I remember that, one of the first things my dad ever told me, that eventually there'd be this apparatus that we could look at, and it would be like a movie.
On like a TV
Yeah.
screen, because
He must
you had moving pictures.
Yeah, we had movies. He said it would be like a movie, but we'd have it in our house, and we'd be able to see.
The this is, hold on one second, it's making some funny. So in Lake Forest, what was you say
I
you
just-
always had lots of help, and
No, my mother, I don't remember any help like a cook or cleaning lady. Of course, they might have been there. My mother ran a little nursery school in the back, and our next door neighbors were called the Mortons, and I think of them because the little girl is still on the Morton package
Now
of when
that-
he and my dad made up the phrase, when it rains, it pours. And
Well, isn't the story goes they were sitting out back having tea in the
Dad
backyard?
used to go over there in the evenings and chat with Mr. Morse about a lot of things, and they made up two that I remember, but there were more. When it rains, it pours, and the slogan was for the Ford, watch the Fords go by, and they said, watch the people go by, Chevrolet. They made that one up. And I just remember them discussing that. And now I always think of Lake Forest when I see Nancy Morton when I'm using salt. She's still on the little cover, and she was my sister's best friend. They went to my mother's nursery school, and Dad was experimenting with a little stove.
It wasn't you and Nancy that ran across in the rainstorm, and they chuckled, and he said, "Boy, when it rains, it pours."
Did I say?
Nancy said that.
Oh, okay, Nancy. And then they picked it up from her.
Right. That it was one of the Brees girls.
Okay, I thought it was my dad.
Well, no, one of the Brees girls that was running across the yard in a rainstorm.
Oh, and that's when they said.
Right.
Okay.
Does that have any?
I hadn't heard that from Nancy. I just heard that the two of them used to like to make up slogans, and that he was getting his company started with salt, the salt company, and that's what they came up with.
And Morton had daughters.
Yeah, Nancy, who was Nancy's age, and that's Nancy on the little thing with her little dress, and she looked a lot like Nancy. They were both little girls.
So, so your dad, Grandpa, was an inventor, and what was his reasons of moving to Santa Fe?
Well, he hated the climate and the commuting into Chicago, and he got a job to get charter flights over the Grand Canyon, and so he flew out. I don't know whether he was with someone or not. It's never been clear, but they were very low on gas, and they landed in Santa Fe to fill up, and he wanted to see Santa Fe, and I think he hitched a ride in or walked in, and somehow he got up Canyon Road and saw this house that was for sale, and he just fell in love with the whole thing because it had stables and out places where he could have his labs. And so he was determined to try and get out there, and he wired my mother and said, I'm thinking of buying this house. And there are two stories. Nancy thinks that Mother came out and approved it and all. I heard that she just came without seeing it. And there's a little pitiful picture of her in Lamy where you had to meet the train with my brother in her arms, about 2 years old. I was 4. Chi-Chi the dog.
Is that in your book?
I'm hoping it's still there. There's so much missing in here, and that was one of them I couldn't find. But that was a classic picture. My grandmother, and then a friend who was planning to spend the summer with us in Lake Forest just came along, and she had asthma and loved staying with us in Santa Fe.
What years was that in Santa Fe?
That was I was 4 years old, so it must have been 1928. But these aren't in order. This is the trouble. See, everything's falling out. These are early ones. That's Bennington. There's my dad and my brother once we were moved in. That's in front of the lab. See, these we're getting into. Oh, Bermuda, this is after my divorce. Bermuda, Portland, Maine, where I live. This is early Santa Fe, me, when I was, 7 or 8.
So,
someone on the trapeze.
So Santa Fe was in a big depression?
I guess there was, and my dad had to commute a lot to Flint, Michigan, where he had business, and the circus came to town. It's my first horse. This was a tutor we had. Yeah, Smokey. See?
Now, Dad, and he had a great trapeze over the pool.
Yeah, we had the trapeze pictures. That's before the trapeze. This was my best friend, Joanne, And that's Andres, who worked for us for years. There's the Santa Fe River. That's the view of the house. I keep thinking I'll find these loose. Now here we are on the platform with Chi-Chi the dog, my grandmother. And these must be my grandmother with the first two children, Frances and Nancy. Here's mother taking off for Florida before she was married. Her uncle sent her over.
Or that's not when you went down to live in the Bermuda?
No, this was before she was married to Dad. And there's Dad on his way to California with Frances and Nancy. That's me up in Lake Michigan. There, these are all early. That's Nancy. Dad with us. There we are by the pool in Santa Fe. Early days in Santa Fe.
You know, your handprints are still in the concrete next to the pool there.
Oh, are they?
Which, every time I go, I'm just amazed that it is still.
That's in Bermuda, my brother and I riding. Here's Dad going over on the... Here's suddenly we're in Caracas and your dad's standing on top of the building that we're going to have our apartment in. And Jenny and you in the sandbox. You think your dad would like some of these? There he is in the little guest house of NC's.
I remember I copied, made
Yeah.
scans of these.
But you didn't. You gave me back everything you took out. There we are with one of the babies. I don't know which one. There's your dad with his precious card. And there you are in your little dress up. And there's a. These were just came out, and I wanted to save them.
Can I borrow these to scan these?
Yeah.
Or let me just I'll do pictures of them right now. That's okay. Keep telling me.
Because my big project is to get these. What kind of glue should I use and get them in the right period?
Well, just so now you're in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
And here, I can do pictures of this. You keep talking while.
Well, now you have my paper of growing up in Santa Fe. Recuerdos de los Vientos.
No.
Oh my gosh, well that gives you all the information you'd ever want. I've got that for you.
That's right here.
Recuerdos de los Vientos.
Is there a copy?
Yeah.
See, I'll get all this computerized, which is really important.
This will give you, could save you a lot of time from. And this is a very nice introduction, and I don't, that's the only copy I have. You know, you're introduced when your paper is given, and you should read that because she kind of goes over what it's about. Now, there's one copy. Now, those damn early years, if you ever want to know what happened at the art museum, I've got those damn early years.
We'll revisit that.
These were the Baca girls. These were all the old characters from Santa Fe. Now, this is a very nice copy. I don't know.
Just the copy, just one of the duplicate.
Okay.
Just want the duplicates, and I'm even gonna just get those duplicated. So. Oops, I put that right on the.
Okay, I think this is a.
Okay, the Gorgeous family.
Okay. And this was, you know, an
Edward
yeah, Eddie they called him. And they were married, and he subsequently disappeared, left. My mother always used to say he did leave a canary. And so mother of my grandmother was a single mom and went to New York and learned therapy, massage, and all that, and sent my mother to a convent, which she hated, and but she did come out when she was about 16, and to earn money she modeled and she worked as a dancer in some of the shows, she was a kind of chorus girl, I guess, for a while. But Dad met her when she was a model and modeling clothes in a store, and that's how they met. I think he was still in Princeton. And so Granny always lived with us when they were married. She came out west and came to Lake Forest and then out west with us. Our grandmother always was with us.
So how did you meet Chuck?
I met him,
Skiing?
actually I think it was the day that my mother committed suicide, because I didn't know about it, and I was driving up and he hailed me and said, "Are you Ann Breeze? I got bad news for you." And that's when they told me about my mother. I'd come up for the weekend to ski, and maybe I'd met him briefly because we had a mutual friend from college that was skiing there in Santa Fe, and Ency had met him and skied with him some, so he knew Ency, and so that's when I started seeing him, about that time when my mother had committed suicide.
So then tell me.
He was working for Los Alamos, and it's in the book I'm reading. Bradbury was the then director, and he was designing his house. And he's all mentioned in the book I'm reading.
And they all used to come down. Do you remember them when
no,
they would?
No, I don't. I never saw them there, but I saw their signatures. Bradbury didn't come because that was later, after the war, after they dropped the bomb.
Right.
But Oppenheimer came when it was, you weren't supposed to leave very often.
They would sneak out.
Yeah, they'd
turn out
sneak
the
out.
leaps of the Jeep.
And the gal had painted the wall all over, painted the signatures over. She showed me the place where they were.
So now you go off to school in Bennington.
Well, before that, I went to a lot of schools in Santa Fe because they were always started. I wish they'd sent me to public school. That would have learned Spanish faster. And one of the schools I went to was a boarding school, which is a long story, but I don't want to get into that. They're run by the guy was gay and she was a lesbian, and
Oh boy.
anyway, we had a lot of experiences there. And then my mother moved to Taos when my dad was divorced, and we went to kind of tutor,
Utah.
kind of a tutor.
Uh-huh.
And that my little brother was only 7 or 8, and that's when my dad took him for the funeral he wanted to take him to in Southampton, and just picked him up at school, and my poor mother went to get him and he was gone. And that was...
Do you remember that clearly?
Yeah.
How
my mother
did
was...
she call the police? Or?
No, it
Anything?
never occurred to her. I guess he left a note that he would bring him back, but he didn't. He put him in a little school. And by then, Mother decided to go to Bermuda. So he joined us back then, and we both went to school in Bermuda.
That we have the tickets of your passage on the
to
ship
Bermuda,
to
yeah.
Bermuda.
Yeah, we had a nice time there. And Ency came down with her retinue of boyfriends.
Hey, don't bite me,
I
buddy.
could just see her coming down the thing from the ship, and waving. And
let's.
Ouch!
Hey, hey, hey.
He wants to play with my shoe.
There. Now, was there competition between you and the sisters? NC was the
no.
wild one. You
Yeah,
were
well,
you were a
I
little
was a
more
little
the
jealous
goody.
of the guy that I really thought I was gonna marry. Dad had hired a boat. He'd invited Dad to meet his mother in Watch Hill. He was very rich and very handsome. And I remember taking the boat over from Watch Hill to Long Island to stay with Francis. And Nancy got him down in the hold and was chatting with him. She was perfectly happily married, but she had to get his life story. You know how she is. And I was sort of upset by that.
She was the first one in. And wasn't your oldest sister Frances kind of mean to you? A little.
No,
Did you-
never.
no?
No, we
Wasn't she?
were quite close. She was always sort of special. She was mean to Nancy.
And
They never.
that was.
And
Like
Nancy
that.
used to say she'd look at her with her cross-eyed, and
I'm cross-eyed too. Remember?
Yeah.
I got that gene.
well, you're not anymore.
I am. I do now. As when my eyes get tired.
Does it crawl? Oh God! You may have to have it redone.
Not as much as
Frances.
Francis never had it done. They didn't have that operation then.
Yeah, when they did it with me, it was
Very new.
very new at that. Somewhere are those pictures of me playing,
With your glasses.
looking over the top of my glasses
Yeah.
that Mr. Brooks took.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
beautiful album of the Brooks.
Marshall Brooks. Yeah.
But that nice Max Kaplan, remember him?
Oh yeah,
He was.
I remember being blind in bed and waking up with the bandages, and
Yeah.
I remember
At
that.
Children's Hospital.
I remember waking
You were
up.
about 8, weren't you? No, you weren't that old.
Little or 6,
I think you're
5
about
or
6.
6. Yeah.
I'm glad we had it done then, though.
Oh, sure. Well, all of the children, Dad says, would always be mongoloids if it wasn't for modern teeth. Jenny's teeth growing out sideways, and my cross-eyed, and
I know.
we were a mess if it wasn't for modern
We've all
medicine.
had all the stuff done.
Everyone says,
Thank God the dentists don't charge what
Now
they
they
charge
got
now.
them when they were so young that.
But you know,
nobody
yours
knows they
can
had
be
'em.
straightened fairly easily now.
Yeah,
They
they
have
used
all
to
of
wait
the-
and say what.
Do you see the ads sometimes?
Oh, sure, you put things in and stuff.
Yeah, they used to wait till you got through elementary school and everybody made fun of it.
What are the fondest memories of your father?
Oh, playing the drums. He loved to play the drums to marches. And he loved to clog, as he called it. You know, he'd say, come on girls, let's get up and clog. And we'd all, you know, do that thing together. Dee, 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 dee. And then we'd,
Well, his father was a famous clogger.
well, that's why Dad wanted to do it, see.
Good boy.
And he taught us to clog, and
Good boy.
Hey,
he loved to ride.
Okay.
So we would,
you would ride with him?
oh yeah, we rode pretty consistently.
And do you have remembrances of his father?
Once he came out to visit in his Cord.
Look at this up.
With
Drop it.
being driven by his...
No, I think he drove himself with his goggles and everything. He came out all by. We drove up to Taos on the dirt road with him.
Oh,
I
wow.
remember going up there.
Did you
Turned down the heat.
see him
Yeah, I
It's all right,
remember.
boy.
in
Yeah.
Southampton, and you remember
I
him?
don't remember much. I never went
Yeah.
down to Southampton. You know, Jim went. Jim remembers him. No, because he died. He couldn't have.
The,
He went to his funeral.
um,
But I do remember him out in New Mexico once he came. Or he may have come more, but I just remember him once.
now, and now in Rockport, is it Cully's son or is
Oh, no.
Cully?
Cully
and-
is
and then-
his
McCollum was
grandson.
his name. Huh? Cully was a nickname for
Yeah, and
McCullough. was his
McCullough.
name.
the one I'm supposed to contact, that's
Oh,
his-
it's Carolyn.
Carolyn, and that's
And
his
she's home
sister.
now.
My
You wanna
buddy.
call her.
And that's his sister,
That's his wife.
his wife.
And
That's right.
she was very, give him a good smack and he'll
Yeah,
stop.
hey.
Just give him a smack. Now, you mustn't do that. You gotta
Sit.
settle down.
Sit. Stop. Look at that big smile on his face.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
a good guy.
He
Like,
likes you.
Okay, well that's a good start.
So she'll
really?
help you a lot, and she was very sorry that
That's an interesting.
I couldn't talk to her. I'll call her too. You want me to call her back now?
No, I have.
You have some questions ready for her.
Yeah, and I'm gonna come back with some questions again. I just wanted to start to see what you have.
And if you look through everything pretty much and seen what I do have here.
Sure.
These were letters back to my mother when I went down to study with Diego Rivera.
Who's this? These
I'm not sure. I think it must be Granny or a nurse.
with the both of you, and that's you.
Yeah, that's me when I was in high school.
In New
That was
Mexico?
my best friend. No, in Portland, Maine. When I lived in Portland, Maine, there we are in our prom dresses.
Now, you were in school in Portland?
Yeah, I was in high school. And that was my best friend. That was about 16, I guess, then. That was in her backyard. And our apartment was right close to there.
These are New Mexico.
Yeah, I'm going to get these back in order.
This is New Mexico in the 1930s?
Yeah, in the 30s.
And now
And
your
this
best
is Lake
friends
Forest.
were the
This is
Andermans?
New Mexico, but this is Lake Forest. This is the only one I have of me in Lake Forest, see? There's Nancy, Francis, and me. Yeah. But I was a little older than that when they came out. Because I was 4 years old, so that was taken pretty early. See, but what happened to all of these? It just kills me.
There's lots of loose ones. So
This is Portland again. Dancing class and my best friend. There's Jim and I.
Now, you studied
Okay,
with
I
Merce
did this,
Cunningham in dance at in
Yeah,
Putney?
well, yeah. How'd you know that? Did I tell you?
Then he liked your painting? Who was it?
No, Eric Fromm, the famous
author, Eric Fromm.
Eric Fromm, the psychologist, bought my first painting. He saw it in the faculty dining room. He never paid me for it.
And then did you ever witness when Grandpa would set people up to people that wanted to date you? They had to take a ride on
he
the.
used to say, "Did he make it?"
The
In other words, had he completed the leap, without falling
on the
trap. You have to go from one to the other.
And so everyone would stand out there, and the poor soul would get out there.
And then you know what Jim would do? He'd say, "Okay, 1, 2, 3," and then he'd hold it just a half second. The other poor soul had already gone out and miss it especially if after a party and if people had tuxes on. And the ladies had long skirts on. That's when he loved to do it.
He used to have big parties there.
Yeah, we'd always have a big
You once
milk
compared.
punch party at fiesta time, and everyone was invited.
Did people come from Taos? Were there any of the Taos 10?
I know some people from Denver never forgave me. They said, "Ann, we called you and you didn't ask us out."
Oh, for the big
That
party.
was my roommate at Bennington,
Yeah.
Jane McKenna. She majored in boys.
See.
This was the studio where I worked. It's one of my paintings.
That's your painting. Oh, I think I remember a picture of that.
Really early. But I was so pleased that they'd taken it.
So, did any scandals happen at those parties, or anything?
No, just
the.
a lot of flinging. No, it was good, healthy fun.
Who's?
Oh, he was a gay guy, Payne Williams III. And I didn't have a key to the Tan Terror. This is an old car of Vincey's that Dad let me drive around when I was at the university. So I'd come out and the car would be gone. So I'd have to figure out who had taken it to their class on the campus. No key.
Because you would just start it with a picture.
And here's Francis at the sandbox.
There's the
with
sandbox.
all of us.
Yeah,
There's the sandbox.
No, there's
See,
great Aunt
there's
Frances.
Larry. There's Aunt Frances. There's Cully. There's Carolyn. See, so she was with us a lot, and she knows. And there we are up on one of the dunes. And this was Larry's first wife, who he divorced, Ruth.
Is that the Ruth in that group picture, maybe?
No. And that's Cully, and that's Carolyn. And this is when I was bridesmaid to one of my best friends at college. These are three good friends just walking along the campus.
Mm-hmm.
You want that? And this is just a wedding thing.
So did you spend time, was this just on vacations?
I'd go down there, yeah. Sometimes I'd come out from the west. I think that was when I was on a visit from the west. Once I was out of college, I'd go east.
Let me keep going on this.
That's the quartet at college.
Who is getting married there?
That's Carla Smith. Wasn't she darling?
Mm.
Her father was head of all the ones that make all the Kleenex and toilet paper.
Oh,
Can't remember. And these were all my best friends at school.
not Crown Paper.
But one of the big paper.
Charmin.
This was the guy that I liked so much, and I went to St. Louis for his sister's debut, and he was being silly. But he's the one that NC kind of zeroed in on.
Are you there?
Yeah, that's me.
That's you. Wow.
That was at a restaurant in St. Louis when I was visiting him. He lived in a great, and he had a token job as a floor walker, so he was never up for breakfast, and I'd come down and the butler would be standing there in his big dining room, and Jack would be at work floor walking, and this butler was about 6 feet tall, and he'd ring this bell and say, "I hear wedding bells." Just ridiculous. And then Anheuser-Busch stole him away from the Chinkles.
Now, who's this?
Oh, she was Peta. She was one of my suite mates, and she later did some modeling for Vogue.
She's beautiful.
Yeah, she
Very
did.
photogenic.
That's me coming in. There's Mary Jo. You remember her?
What were you?
There's Jack, and that was one of my best friends.
Who is Jack now?
Jack is the one in St. Louis.
Oh, right.
And you remember Harry Balfe?
Sure.
Well, he took over when Jack was out of the picture. He's one of my best men
Now, what
friends.
were you doing to climb
Coming
in?
out of my bedroom window to sun out in front.
Oh, okay.
We thought that was the big thing to do. This is Del Herder. Her father was Secretary of State, Christian Herder, under Roosevelt. No, under. I can't. Here's Peta again, and Mary Lou. There she is.
Now, these were Bennington.
Yeah, they're all my Bennington
girls.
friends, yeah.
Wow, that's fun.
That's my Bennington period.
We won't keep. I'm done here, but I saw some of the black ones.
That's from. Oh, this was a guy I used to see a lot. This is during the war. Nancy used to call this guy
That's
the Brute.
Anderman, isn't it?
No,
No.
that's Diddy Windsor. She, I think, is still alive, and this is the Brute. Nancy called him. And this was a fly
Look at those
boy.
eyebrows.
He was
That's who
Huck
are you
Wallace.
with?
Oh God.
Is that
And
you?
there's Harry again. Yeah.
That's you with him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's skiing. Pitch, Nancy's first husband. Right here, there's Nancy. Oh, and here we all waxing our skis. Here's Nancy and I.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always with the dog. This is down in Venezuela, the mural I did, and the sculptures I did. And this is early Santa Fe.
See, this
There's
should go.
Francis-
These black ones should go in this first book.
Yeah, I know.
This.
They should. There's Nancy at a horse show, and my mother. And
That's
our
just
governess.
right out in front there.
Yeah,
You may
that's the
pull
front
front
field.
of the front.
There are all the people that would come to the horse show. There's my stepmother, Sarah Morgan. And I don't know, Lawrence gave me these, and they're early people that were skiing there, and I don't know who the girls are or anything. This is early Santa Fe. This is my my stepmother's children, Perry Morgan. There was a guy called Silver that worked up for us, and he used to take us all out on camping trips. There's Jimmy eating breakfast. We were all in the Bahia Grande country in '37. Dad would go up. There's Pitch.
Now Pitch was
NC's
first husband.
Yeah. Oh, and Dad built this thing we could go down in the pool.
Oh,
You know, like
underwater.
Underwater.
Yeah,
It's
you could
horribly
get-
dangerous.
You could have gotten the bends
Oh,
with
God. I think it has Jim in it. Oh, and this was a wonderful gay guy that went on to New York to be Donald Murphy. He was a wonderful friend. And this was quite a well-known artist that did that of my dad's office.
that. Oh yeah.
And there he is on his tractor.
That became the Santa Fe Day School.
Yeah, that became it. And this gal and I used to dress up as old women at Fiesta time and sell tamales in La Fonda.
Well, looking like
We'd
tamales plain
really
like poor Hispanic.
yeah.
Oh,
And we'd
look at those
see
poor
our
girls.
tamale pail.
Yeah.
And this is when
You were real jokesters, so you always played jokes.
This was Hub Wallace, who loved to ski with me, and NC. Tennis matches and towels with Lynette. I wonder if I gave that to her. There's Chuck. There's your dad.
He probably
Jake
was not a
Turner,
very good
Who
skier.
was my... No, wait a minute. It couldn't have been your dad. Yeah, he used to ski with us.
Right, at the ski number out
Yeah,
there.
he used to ski with us. And there we are going up in that old car that Pitch wanted. Oh, and this is a guy that died on the Rio Grande. He flew me to St. Louis the weekend before in Dad's plane.
Oh boy.
Weekend before river accident.
Oh.
Here I am with my dad. That should be in the...
This is good. This is in your.
Yeah, no, it should be in the marriage book. This is honeymooning, and this is his brother Mark. Here I am. Forgotten who that was. This is my best
1947.
friend.
The war was on.
This is up in Aspen, the sun deck.
48, 19.
Ted Nichols. Oh, he was such a nice guy. This is Venezuela now, star. No, Frances married. That was the black guy.
That was the famous one
that
in
she
the
married.
book.
This is all Venezuela. They've stayed in pretty well. More of Caracas. And would you do this? And this is what the place looked like before with bulldozed when we built the house.
On Stamford Street.
Yeah.
Utah.
God, I've got the truck. We don't.
Are you okay? Here's the trapeze.
Now we're getting more into when your grandmother Sink used to visit. That darling of Jenny that Marshall Brooks took. Yeah, this is the newer book, and this doesn't go very far.
Let me get a picture of Jenny.
I think she's got that. 'Cause I think.
Well, that's an original Marshall Brooks. Should take care of.
That was especially nice. Then that's when they were staying in Valparaiso.
52.
There's Nancy hanging out her wash. I'll have to put that back in the old one. And that's Gretchen Breeze. There we are. There's Frances when I was visiting her in the east.
Francis Killam. Let me get it.
Now, what would this be? There's Nancy with a Japanese guy. I don't know what that would be doing. That's up at the ski place in Santa Fe. Oh, and there's the three of us. We all were on the Santa Fe ski team. But that was earlier. See, that's got to go back in an earlier one.
Put that with your.
These are children, children, children. And this is the end. Oh, we're getting a little... There's your dad with his partners. Maybe he ought to have that. You want to give that to him? I mean, he can have any of these as far as that goes. If
Yeah,
you see
I
him.
am. This is the one. With the
Yeah,
glasses.
you remember these then.
Here, let me get the picture. Hold that. Hold still.
Oh.
Put that side.
There's Paul Mead and you. I love this. There you are in your glasses again. You didn't have them on very often.
Well, that's why I think you decided I completely refused to wear them.
Yeah, and then we better. It's amazing you get this so fast.
Well, Denise, he's
Do you
look
think
me
you want to bring this to your dad?
Sure.
That kind of thing,
Sure.
but he says he's getting rid of
Definitely.
photographs, and that's a Gerda Scott's. You, must be you. You were still a little boy. Isn't this incredible how they kept their figures on how much everything cost? Sales for cash. God, small cash book.
What was that? Is that?
From the Good Shepherd Convent. That's where Granny went, I guess. The Good Shepherd Convent. Miss Maggie Malone, Good Shepherd Convent. That was her.
In New York?
In Quebec, Canada. That's where she was born. French Canadian. I mean Irish. Where do you want? Okay. Well, do I ever have to get things organized? As long as I save the pictures, even if I don't get them in the right.
Yes, Hey. Hey.
Come on. You leave him alone. No, He doesn't want to play. No, he doesn't want to play. Just a minute. I'll have it. No, down. Yeah, I'm gonna leave him in here with you. It's just going too rough with him. You keep him in here with you. We're almost finished. You're too rough to play with him. Tad Nichols came. He was a wonderful photographer. So all of these people have died. Steve Newberry. Ted Van Solen, you know, his father was one of the best painters in Santa Fe. Dorothy McKibben, she's the one now that's getting all the publicity. Merritt Hogue. Andrei Stenatovich came. Martha Field, Lois Field, Jane Watson.
Wow.
Amy Bond, that was a beautiful girlfriend of Jim's. Look at the wedding list though, how many I had. Well, I've got lots of cards of those if you ever wanted them.
Yeah, this is the original Brooks picture though.
Yeah, you think he took it? I
Yeah.
guess he did.
Yeah, it's very professional done. And there's Sidney Poit. I mean,
Well, he was a friend of your dad's, I've forgotten. He was a special friend of his from school or something.
in
There's
New
Carol.
York together.
That's one of the last pictures taken in the house. Fancy when she lived there.
I remember that.
There's the little trailer Mother got when we traveled around. Oh, there you are. Don't you think that's cute? I don't know who took these. Wonder who took that. That's all. Dad doesn't take pictures anymore, so oh yeah, I do have more ones in folders that I haven't gotten in. I probably never will. This is the little ones you don't know about it.
What's that?
We think this must be Mother when she was little. Jim had a copy, a real copy, but Larry gave me this one, Larry Killam, because I couldn't find mine. Oh, I do have one. That is a copy. I have one over. This is just a copy, but this was given to Peter and Francis, so Larry made a copy of it for me.
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah, good. And that's when she was a little girl.
That's Mabel. I don't have any pictures of Dad's father. Okay. Well, that's a good start. That's a good run through.
This is quite valuable, and I gotta find the.
About the Samuel Finley Breese Morse?
No, but this was a teacher at Bennington, Auden, who was a famous, one of the best-known poets. And this guy was writing a book on him, and asked me, and said I was at Bennington during those years, and did I remember him? And I just told him a couple of times that I chatted with him, and I got a letter with a signed picture of Auden, and I've got to find that.
Well, Merrill is you know, what that was in the Breese house.
Yeah,
was a poet that wrote poems in there that had all reference to the Breese. There's those tennis players.
Yeah, there's Dad with.
You
he
had-
was teaching us. Must have been teaching us badminton in Princeton. There I am. And there's the Brute. He sent me that picture of him big.
Now, did you date him?
He sent it to me.
Were you dating him?
Oh yeah, he pursued me to New York. I mean, one night I think I was afraid he really was a psycho, because he took me home.
What kind of
And
date
I
rape
said, well,
or
my
something?
mother isn't here, so she doesn't really want me to entertain anybody, but I had a very nice time. And he was just huge, and he took his hands like this, and he said, what do you mean your mother isn't here? And they got tied. Luckily, a Japanese guy down the hall happened to open his door.
Oh my
And I said,
gosh.
oh, hi, Wong, or whatever. And that broke him up, and then he just stopped, you know. But
Wow.
he didn't. It was really strange. He was furious that I wouldn't invite him in. So I think he'd been damaged in the war.
These, now I have the papers, you put away your papers. I never got the copy. Let's see.
Oh, the recuerdos?
Yeah, that's fine. This is my, yeah. Of those two, I had them out. Did you put them back
Well, you
away?
heard the horror story about him, why he missed the boat, didn't you?
No.
Oh, didn't.
No, tell me.
He had gone over to Belgium, and there was a party, and he thought it'd be nice to bring back souvenirs of the gold cigars.
Uh-huh.
So he was picking them up and putting them in his pocket, and the guards got him and kept him there. Is that it?
This is the one of the,
Recuerdos.
this is
Oh,
the
Morse.
Morse.
Yeah, you don't have recuerdos?
No, that's an important one.
I thought you picked it up.
No, it was laying out here.
You sure it isn't in there?
Yep, positive. Here. So there's this is your one.
Here.
There it is, that's it. That's it, right?
Yeah, but it's
No,
not-
that's the crossing of the
Yeah,
Atlantic.
no, that's not. One of these must be it. There's the introduction, but I'll keep that, huh?
Yeah, no, this is your,
You said you
no,
read it.
keep this in here, keep all that
Yeah,
in
but you
here.
haven't found.
There's one more, and there's a second, then you have a second version, and then I pulled out a version that's somewhere around here.
Well, it won't matter if you just want to take one.
No, keep all those, that's when things get fuddled so
No.
quickly when,
Oh, here's the Charlemagne chart. Do you have that?
there's your letters. That should stay there.
Did you see the Charlemagne?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have,
you've seen it. Oh, there's another instance with me. Well, it couldn't just, I haven't taken anything off the bed.
it's somewhere, we just shoved it all together just to.
I think they were all shoved in here.
No, I put those in there, before, let's pull those out. We're close.
That goes with those.
Okay, put those away.
Yeah, I will. I'll put those in the book.
Put those away right
But
now.
look in here. I think you probably stuck it in.
Here it is. Here's an American Renaissance. No, that's your
Yeah,
Morse.
Renaissance.
No, that's your Morse. We're looking for.
Yeah, it must be
Okay.
in here. That's one all marked up. You don't want that one.
No, that's your Morse.
Well,
Okay, put that with your Morse. Let's put this with your Grease.
well, here's a perfectly good copy. And,
No, I have the Morse.
oh, you have the Morse. Oh, well, then what are we
Yeah.
looking? Oh, we're looking for the Recuerdos
Yes. The second.
one I gave you.
Let me look. I'm sure it's here. It is. Here it is.
Okay,
Right. So many times over the years.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'd love a cover for it, but that's okay.
Uh-oh.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Just-
it was given to, well, here, take this.
No, we don't. That's your master. Leave. Here, there was one in here.
Yeah.
You take that one.
Okay.
Great. Good. Okay, those. Now let's get all this back piled properly, okay?
Look at this dear one of Jim. Beautiful boy.
Now this Brees, because I have the other Brees scrapbooks, is there anything in here, do you feel, could I put this with this, because I have these other numerated scrapbooks.
You want to take this for, well, some of these are just falling apart, Mark.
No, just if it has any,
Oh, to just look at it.
yeah,
Okay.
the exhibition of
Yeah,
photographs.
here's the one about Gosford.
Right, with the Gosford.
And that gives you, that's Beatrice who married.
Right.
I haven't read through them.
Just because I have the other books, and if
This will give you a lot of new names.
I'm gonna just introduce that. That's the wedding.
Sure,
I might send this to Tim, or I took pictures of
Yeah.
it. That's a
Okay.
really important wedding of the
That was-
Kathleen. She was the big.
Oh, no! Bad dog.
So that'll be a good. And anything, see all of these I'm gonna have documented into replicas, kind of. So.
Okay.
Because I want to give these, this is, his international exhibition of artistic
Photograph. Yeah, that's
art,
it.
the artistics of Portugal.
If you get this book
James
together, you
O'Reilly's.
mean?
Yeah. See, this is a really
Yeah.
important document for me.
Yeah.
Um,
But you keep these in a safe place,
yeah.
don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Because,
well,
we don't live in the safest neighborhood in town.
well, not more
They
just.
would never be interested in this.
It's the same thing with you, though. They're not interested in this, but it's if the house burns down, if you leave
I
a
know.
burner on.
I know, he does. He leaves them alone. I can't.
Well, everyone makes mistakes. That's one what I'm.
Mark, I have one favor before you go, but before we call a plumber.
Yeah.
Come here.
Okay,
I
hold on.
probably should get a whole new fixture.
This is Joel McRae.
Joel McRae.
It was
And he
the
said to my dad, he said, you should be proud of your daughter. She's a...
this and did you sit with him, talk to him? How?
At lunch,
This
at
was a high
lunch,
point
we'd go
of
in the
life,
dining
you said?
car and he put up his hand and never laid a hand on me. He just chose me. He walked down the aisle of a couple of cars and came back and sat down next to me. He said, how far are you going? I said, to Santa Fe. And he said, great. And I said, my dad wants me to stop off and see the museum. He said, oh good, I'm going there too. And so we went there. And then he was married to an actress called Frances D. And he wanted me to pick out some little Indian gifts for the kids, for the kids. But I told my friends at boarding school and they didn't believe me. They said, oh, you did. It's beautiful. Just this time of year.
Oh, look at the little baby. Is it just a museum now? I don't know. Well, they go to church there.
I think they use
I've
it
seen
little.
people.
How thick the walls are. Isn't that incredible? Look at
It's
that
older than this
doorway.
country.
How thick. That is incredible. And they're allowing them up. The Unitarian Church, and it's in Boston, in the office there. He took it back. Isn't that something?
Oh, you got the video. It was hard scanning it. Oh, it'll change.
Let's see, am I taking some of this
No, I
here?
just put my stuff down. that's enough.
That's great.
So did you connect up with your friend okay?
Yeah, everything.
What was that? Was it
Well, thanks for that recommendation
I'm
of
not
Rob
sure
Posada.
where
This
we
is
met
so
because
nice.
Artie was my roommate.
It's just such a, yeah, and a little, just like
He lives
garden
there.
area.
He used to come up to Santa Fe, visit quite a bit.
And we had a
But
little
I
breakfast
think when
there.
he,
Just was very pleasant.
I think at the
We had a
time
little
that
outdoor
he was
breakfast
coming
place
up,
by a
you
coffee
and
store.
Chuck
Uh-huh,
were
yeah.
as well.
Oh,
I
okay.
think you
So
went
maybe
walking
I
through
did.
town, that's what
Yeah.
made us late.
Was back in
We were truly
what,
around town, we
40,
looked at our watches.
That's
Oh,
probably why I
look
don't
out.
remember.
So we
Yeah.
ran back, but,
Well, Patty was so
It's-
sorry
it's
that
so-
they got
the
into
location is
complications.
super.
Oh,
One-
they're not gonna
well,
say
one
so
of her
many memories.
grandchildren.
That big rock pile
uh,
across the street is our church.
Oh, was going to.
Oh.
You live with them. It's so hard to get the feeling of them. Just these are treasures.
But you know, she's really at the big time. She has her production is all taken care of.
By another
Yeah,
firm. I
yeah.
know. And guess what I saw today at the museum? Do you remember Willard Clark, who did that sculpture for Dad of Arab, the horse? Well, his grandson was there selling a book on Willard Clark.
Really?
And I said, I grew up on Canyon Road and my father knew your grandfather. And guess what he said? Oh, well, he did all the print. He said, what was your maiden name? And I said, Breeze. And he said, I did all the printing for Breeze Burners.
For heaven's sake.
And then on the table next to him was all the wonderful printing that
Uh-huh.
Clark did. You know, he
Yeah.
was a printmaker,
Yeah.
a sculptor,
Yeah.
a jeweler.
Yeah, I didn't know about the printing, but
And there was his grandson, who was about, I suppose, maybe Mark said, no, he's older. Lives in
I
Santa.
don't know whether you were listening last night, but they're going to have a
Small
show.
World Department.
Uh,
It just happened that he didn't have a Breeze
Gallery.
Burner one to show,
Oh,
but there
paintings
were
by
other
Wilson
shots that
Hurley.
he'd done for, or other
and
businesses.
she knew him.
Just like that.
who was in Francis's house now? Anybody we know?
But she wasn't a real estate person. but-
I think she still owns it, as far as we know. From California.
Doesn't make any sense.
Hmm.
Oh, Carol, this is lovely. Oh, thank you, I love that. Yes, it's such a nice thing.
They were usually
Bed and breakfast.
widows, and they had an extra room or two, and he knew them all. He knew all the ones along the way, and that's where we would stay. And got back to Long Island, and I was in some little school there, so I guess I must have been. I don't know what. I mean, it was more than kindergarten, that's for sure. Because I remember having to learn French, so I guess it must have been
Fourth
Seven
and
or
fourth
eight.
grade.
Papillon, you know, and all that.
Now wait, I've lost the first part of the story. Is this your trip east?
Trip east, yeah. And
He had pals from Princeton all the way, didn't
No,
he?
no. I was saying he used to like to stay at these well, they were essentially boarding houses.
Oh, he
They-
did
they were-
stay in a hotel.
They were women, usually widows, who had an extra room,
Oh,
and he knew about it because he did make quite a few business trips, you know.
yeah, he did.
And he always knew which ones, and so we stayed along in those places. Very rarely stayed at a hotel.
And you never stayed the whole, well, it must have taken you almost a week to get east.
I guess so, yeah. And then we of course moved into the place at Grandpa's
The
place.
grandpa,
Yeah.
at the orchard, the little place.
The little place. Well, it wasn't so little, it was by the name Little, yeah.
Well, Nancy was telling me that her recollection was that
This
going
will
up,
be a different.
but going out to the Loki and Lake Mead and everything, that they drove.
Oh, yes.
And one thing I couldn't figure out, if your father, he loved to fly, why he didn't fly there and all these other places.
They didn't have a landing field, in the-
Oh, yeah, we had to travel in a hermetically
it's
sealed
120.
car.
Roll up the window, we're going to go a few miles, he'd say just a few miles. And we just would be perishing in there because the air conditioning was not working.
What he was trying to get away from, and he had a very good idea, it did actually work pretty well, was when you put your window down a little bit to get some air, it makes so much noise, you can't talk.
Yeah.
So he invented this little kind of a grill, an aluminum
Was that what
grill
it was?
thing with where you could vary the apertures
Yeah, of
and so forth. And he would jam that into the slot between the top of the window and the door. And that was it. That's all we got.
Oh, I thought it was, oh, that's all we got.
240 air conditioning.
And, well,
So it
he-
was entirely different than what we think of air
Yeah,
conditioning,
yeah.
okay.
Well, he had, yeah, he didn't have any actual refrigerant.
Okay, that's what,
Must
I know
have
that he
whistle
meant,
though.
he called it air conditioning, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, he had an idea about doing some air conditioning by taking advantage of the evaporative effect of the carburetor. He was going to get some cooling off the
Oh, from
carburetor.
the car.
But when you really sit down and figure that out, it doesn't amount to much.
Why didn't he make some money on the one where you press the gas and it starts the car? Remember that one?
Oh yeah,
Did
used
he
to
get a
be,
patent for that?
probably did, but
I thought that was a good one. We had a car that did it, didn't we? We had
well,
one.
he
that
had
did it. You just
the
press the gas and the car started.
I didn't remember that.
Not
The-
very secure.
The one I remembered was the one that started the car automatically at night.
Yeah.
If it got too cold.
Oh, I don't remember that. It did not.
Yes.
Which
It was
one of his
Start
cars?
on its
Yeah,
own.
he had it.
Oh my God. And you'd hear this car start up?
Yes, it was started in the garage.
Did you know that? You gotta add that to your book.
What failed conventions?
And you'd hear it start out in the
Oh,
driveway?
yeah.
Okay, so Jim, did he hire you? Did he hire a nanny, or how did he take care of you? He doesn't seem like the.
Oh, you mean along the way? Oh,
Well,
no.
that he took this long trip.
Yeah.
And then he took you back to where? Santa Fe? Or?
Well, yeah, eventually I came back to Santa Fe, but I spent the winter there in Long Island.
Oh, you
Oh,
spent the
okay.
whole week.
Yeah, because I went to that little school, Long Island Country Day School,
Oh,
and where they tried to drill French into me.
and was Aunt Frances there too?
Yeah, she was there. I don't remember seeing much of her though.
She was in New York.
She usually would be in New York in
In
the
her
wintertime.
apartment.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I don't remember seeing, but the sandbox where she lived was there. I remember that. And I don't quite
What
remember.
time of year was it that he picked you up? Was
Well, I
it
guess it was the fall.
fall? So
yeah.
then you were there all winter.
Yeah. And then, you see, he got married to Sarah in that
Oh, then
period.
Sarah was the next one.
And so I think the next leg of the journey was going from there down to Florida, to Palm Beach.
And Nancy went down there.
And she was there, yeah.
Did you stay down there?
For a little while, yeah. But I remember he sent me, he booked me on the train by myself, going from
Ippy Rulon Miller, the head of the Princeton football
Yeah,
team,
very
right?
strapping.
Big, strapping, and unfortunately, she had at some house party, she had become great with child, and it was just scandal of Princeton, and so she was going to come out here to have the baby, right? So they let them have the Santa Fe house, and Ippy was miserable to the help. You know, they hated him. And there was some altercation, and you fill in on this, when the shooting started. I think probably Andres might have been drinking. Remember, he was an alcoholic. And got the gun out, or someone got the gun out, and they
There's more than one gun.
he was just an awful, he had no sensitivity about the Spanish Americans. They hated him.
Yeah, bunch of Mexicans.
Yeah, his Mexican. He
There,
had
the,
no sensitivity.
there was some the whole thing came to a head over the chicken coop.
Oh, see, yes.
So we had
Total recall.
we had all these chickens, and I don't know if he wanted to do something. We probably wanted to kill him. I don't know. Who knows? And Andres
And they
objected, and one thing led to another, and that's probably when
escalated.
and that's probably when Andres started hitting the bottle, and he holed himself up in the tack room.
That's right. And it was a standoff.
And he didn't have just one gun in there. He had every gun that Dad had.
Ever had was in the tack.
This old man liquor, you know, the heart of Africa, darkest Africa type gun, and pistols and there was an old 45, you know, frontier type pistol he had in there, and a couple of other things, and if he called the police. And now back in those days we had terraces, remember?
Yeah, down.
Irene did away with all that, but we had these terraces. These cops came up. I tell you, it was like the final scene in that the Sundance, which were all the federales lined up on the wall and just started blasting away. And they absolutely turned that tack room into Swiss
just
cheese.
full of bullet holes.
Yeah, and he was blasting away. He caught one of the police.
Did Andrews get it?
He never got hit.
The police showed up too?
Excuse me.
The police showed
Well,
up?
they were.
This is a gun battle with the
They were all
police.
lined up at under the terraces, shooting and into the tack room. And one of them got hit in the shoulder and was in fairly critical condition.
But he survived.
Yeah, he survived, and
Yeah, the shootout of him.
and then there was a big kind of a.
What about Ippy? Where was he?
Now, how did that work? How did that work? How did Ippy? I know that he wasn't around very long.
Oh, he just plugged out when the shooting started.
Yeah, I was living, and you probably were too, at the time, just down the road, Canyon Road, where Mother had that house, you know.
Who was there?
You probably were too.
Oh, yeah, that's when I was.
And the only way I knew that anything was going on was when all of a sudden all these police cars
Were zooming up.
where their sirens were zooming up
Right.
and zooming back, and we saw the last car going by, and we saw Andre sitting in the back, and that's when
you knew it was from our house.
Yeah.
That was.
But he, I remember he went over to the Andres went over to the hospital, and he and the cop, made nice, and everything was okay, and all that. And I don't know what the upshot of it was. I think that.
I can't believe why Andres never had to go to jail.
Well, I think they said that, if you go to a 12-step program, or whatever they call it.
Well, I know Dad sent him to a drug abuse place.
I think that was the deal.
And he took that medicine that when you take it, it makes you sick when you have a drink. And remember they used that?
Yeah.
And all this time, up until then, I guess, I never knew he was an alcoholic. He never came to work drinking. I never knew that. Innocent women.
But one little detail has no importance, but just out of curiosity now. The daughter, she got pregnant before they were married. They still weren't married when all this happened, or they were? They did.
Oh, they'd gotten married.
It was just a bad time to get
Yeah,
pregnant.
they had the marriage, but the baby, I guess, was going to come fairly soon or something. They just didn't have the big Princeton wedding.
Mm-hmm.
They came out. He's in here. They do sort of the recreation of Christ, on the cross with
Crucifixion.
They used to really sort of injure themselves with scourges and things, but they do it late at night.
There's a cross lying right by the side that they have. That's when they carry. They actually carry it. They flagellate themselves
Is
and
that the
carry
one
the cross. There it is.
Well, no, those are permanently there.
No, this one on the
The one
side.
on the side.
Yeah.
let's go hit the checkout lobby. You want to do that quickly?
Do you want me to get my luggage packed up? Yeah, yeah, I'll help you with it.
Yo sí le dije una vez a decir, no estaba hablando, no. Casi un chamaco le dije no va a decir. No puedo pegarle.
Crusaders are what?
Actually,
Actually, I'm not a crusader and I'm not a horse. Neither do what I am. I'm a horse, whatever horse is, a bronco or something. Mustang or...
St. Michael.
All right, we'll see you. No, I can't come to work tomorrow. No.